earlier, it's going to be XSET taking on Soniqs. Now, XSET, of course, one of those teams that did not make any changes going to stage 3. Why would they? They made it all the way to the semifinals in Berlin. So certainly a team that's been doing well, but they did go 1-1 in week 1. Meanwhile, Soniqs with a 2-0 start, so it really does feel like it's kind of on XSET to come alive a little bit more in this one and kind of show that they're still one of those top teams, huh?
Yeah, I mean, XSET obviously having a very good major down in Berlin, but they come here back into stage 1. I don't think their loss against Parabellum is the biggest thing to worry about, right? It was a close game. I thought they still had some really strong players, especially when it comes back to their supports, back to their anchors. You talk about guys like Diaz, guys like Kino, very, very dependable players on this team. So I think that they should be fine continuing in for Soniqs, maybe sharpen up a couple of those Armory defenses. That game goes another way. So they're coming in here against Soniqs, of course, 4th place versus 1st place, but I still feel like XSET are the favorites coming into this matchup.
If only by a little bit. I think this is also the closest matchup that we have in terms of who is close to one another on both attack and defense. Any other matchup that we see today, there is going to be some big discrepancy on one side of the ball or the other. But in this one, if you're asking for what our most even matchup of the day is, even though it's might be a big difference for some people to see 1st through 4th place, there's only a couple of percentage points on defense. It's not the biggest difference or disparity in the world, so it's still going to be a good one.
So I'm curious, like on stylistically, how do you feel the two squads match up? New Sonic squad, XSET.
I think this is a very interesting matchup to watch, especially from a spectator point of view, because these are arguably the two most talented mechanical teams. They both have great aimers. They both play at a fast pace. So depending on the map, you could see a lot of initial gunfights, a lot of initial pressure, and I think it's going to be a really entertaining match.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot. You and I were talking about that before the show started today. It is a gunner's meta right now. And we're not just talking about the player on Sonics. We're talking about
I was waiting for you to say it. I knew it was going to happen.
What else am I going to say? Of course. Let's talk about XSET, though, first. Let's zero in on that squad a little bit and dive into it a little bit more deeply. Now, XSET, of course, they did play that close match against Parabellum. Didn't end up going their way, but that said, there are still a ton of talented people on this squad. And, I talked to them in Vegas. They were happy that they made the semifinals in Berlin. That's progress. Quarters in Charlotte, semis in Berlin. They joke that they'll go and lose the finals of the next major, and then they'll win SI. That's their long-term plan. But they certainly are a team that is overall on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you take a look at maybe some of the gunners that Seth was just talking about, right? And I think what you're mainly concerned for if you're XSET is just making sure that everybody shows up, right? We've seen a couple of games, especially Spirits is a player that we have talked about being somewhat inconsistent. I think he's been a lot better recently. That said, against Parabellum, he really did struggle on some of those off-site roams. He was playing on a zombie, but he was dying to a lot of those angles. They were quite long, right? He would oftentimes have those barricades up, but still would end up falling because he's peeking them, because he's going for those fights, maybe a little bit sooner than he has to. Gomez, kind of his partner in crime sometimes there on the roam. He's been a player that I don't think has always been beside Spirits. You look at that last game against Parabellum to get that trade, to make sure you can back him up there. It's never the end of the world if somebody's opening death, but there has to be a trade there. There has to be somebody else coming through.
True.
It's also a partner in crime relationship on attack as well, because we used to look at both of them as being the guys who would switch Finka around more often than not. But we also had the question, if Finka's out, does XSET still fit into the meta? And it seems like they do. Everyone but Diaz is the one are taking entry engagements, and Spirits is also taking Buck on both maps. But for Border and Chalet, it does make a lot more sense, but I don't think that expectation is probably going to persist if he's looking for a new op to play. Gomez is taking over Yana in 90% of the engagements that they're in, but Gomez also isn't really showing up to the level that we usually expect of someone like him. So I think all of the fragging power is there. They understand how they want to fit into what is consistently a gunner's meta over and over again. But I think just in the case of that one Parabellum game on Border, I just think those two guys showing up is really all they needed to really correct the problems overall.
All right. So I'm curious, Super. Like when you look at XSET, what's kind of the biggest threat they bring to Soniqs right now?
I just think the biggest threat, honestly, to the Soniqs is that they have the ability to go toe-to-toe with them and take gunfights. Most of the teams in the league, in my opinion, don't. To be honest, I think what this game is going to come down to is the opening fights. The Soniqs have a 91% conversion rate on getting opening kills. That's going to be huge if they continue that rate and the XSET kind of continue struggling with their opening kills. Obviously, that's going to favor the Soniqs.
Yeah, XSET entry for that stat, 57%. So they've been relatively even. That's about where you think your average is going to be. Soniqs also, in terms of actually getting those opening picks, have also been pretty even, 50%. So that win rate does come with it, but they are going to need to be able to take some of those, especially against some of the roamers on XSET. One thing I love about XSET as a team is they've got this player, Diaz, who's so dependable for them. He's one of only 2 players in the entire league with over a 50% survival rate, the other one being Grixer, of course, against them on the Soniqs. He's got only 10 deaths through 21 rounds, 15 kills on top of it. So he is getting into fights. He's got a 1.5, very respectable KD ratio. And having Diaz as that rock there might be what they need if they do lose some of those opening picks, if they struggle in the early rounds. I like that they at least have somebody they can fall back on late.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly presenting a threat in a lot of ways, especially that gunfight kind of style. But let's talk about Soniqs, though, the team on the other side of the arena. Now, to start us off with this, obviously there were some roster changes on Soniqs coming into the stage. Super, as someone who is part of making the decisions on those roster changes, can you kind of take us through that? Like, what sort of was the process in terms of adding Geo and Gunner onto the team?
Well, initially we targeted Gunner when we learned that it was even possible to acquire him to replace me. And obviously with that intention, we had Yeti still on the team. Once news kind of spread that TSM had elected to bench Geo, we thought that would be a very easy kind of plug and play Geo for me, because Geo's just a better player than me, but he plays the same roles. So we thought we were upgrading, honestly, at both positions with Gunner and kind of our roamer, flank watch, and Geo on our support roles.
Okay, all right. And in your opinion, how has that worked out so far after you see the first 2 games? Obviously, you got the wins, but what's your sort of like a professional evaluation of it?
Obviously, I think so far it's worked out well. We're undefeated at the moment, and the team looked really strong against Dark Zero. I kind of expect, some bumps in the road because, they've only been practicing together for about 3 weeks, so it's not going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, we just need enough wins to make the major, and that's the goal.
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting decision to kind of move Gunner onto more of those like flank watchy type roles that Yeti was playing, and then Geo, who on TSM was playing more of those flank watch roles, put him on your former roles on that hard breach. Obviously, it's worked out quite well for you, and I know Geo's a very experienced player. He can play a lot of different roles there back on support, but ultimately it does seem to be working out for Soniqs. I think not only is it allowing the new players to shine and have some good moments, but the veterans as well. We're seeing really good games coming through from Grixer. He's been, I think, the best player so far by by a rating metric in the league thus far. I think he had a standout performance on Skyscraper versus SSG to start things off. On Valk, he was really good around playing around that cover. And so I'm really hoping we see more of that strong performance from Grixer here today in week number 2.
How much caffeine do you think Gunner has had this morning?
Too much.
I've actually heard that he doesn't drink any. He's just naturally that energetic, yeah.
Just got that energy. All right.
He's just like me,
better.
for real. Look at that. I think, honestly, the only real criticism I have of Soniqs is with Gunner. I think there were several times, especially when they attacked, where he'd die with really pivotal utility way too early on, whether it was playing Osa in a couple of rounds on Skyscraper against SSG, or playing Ace just in Playday 2 against Dark Zero. Sometimes it felt like he's first in, there isn't a trade potential, and it feels like he'll die with a little bit too much still left in his pocket. But that was something he also addressed in the interview after that DZ win, saying, we know it's a thing, we know it's about slowing the pace down a little bit in order to contain it somewhat. I think their shot calling has been fantastic. I think on defense, everyone seems really fluid. It's just on attack, you clean that one thing up, and you probably keep this first place, trying to go in for a little while longer.
Yeah, on defenses, they are 75% total win rate, which is very, very good for the Soniqs. You take a look at that stat, it is the best in the league. They've only dropped 3 rounds so far throughout the NAL. They ended up dropping, 1 round versus DZ and 2 against SSG. So very, very strong so far in the defense. I like what you mentioned about Gunner right in the interview. I think they read Dark Zero really well last week. They went kind of slow. They didn't try to take a lot of fights on the roam. That kind of made DZ stumble a bit. They wasn't really what Dark Zero were expecting. And then it was cool. You saw the tack timeout in that game from Dark Zero after, I believe it was round 4. And immediately after that, Soniqs switch up their play style because they kind of realized, wait a minute, they might be now kind of figuring it out. Yeah, Rexon goes for a big spawn peek and starts off the round. So that was nice.
That's right. You know what else is nice? Map bans.
Hey.
Got them in. We're all ready. Finding out where we're going to go. First ones to be banned are Skyscraper and Villa.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Sky and Villa both getting taken out. Skyscraper definitely makes sense from XSET to take off the board. It's a game that Soniqs played with Gunner and Geo already week 1. It was a very close game, 7-5, but XSET maybe seeing things that they don't want to see repeated once again. Chalet and Theme Park then both going to get taken off of the board. Chalet, a team that XSET picked for both games in the Berlin Major playoffs. They haven't really been wanting to play it in this week, I suppose. They did beat Beast Coast already on it, but that is Beast Coast, so perhaps not wanting to put a lot of of weight onto that result. Oregon and Cafe are next 3 maps going out of the pool. Oregon, again, another one that you're wanting to ban against the Soniqs. SQ play a lot of Oregon, at least in the last couple of stages with their old roster. They didn't win it a ton. Their win rate was actually quite poor on it, but it's obviously a map they're very comfortable with.
I also like the idea of XSET still saying, hey, we're all right with a border pick. We'll do this again. We understand the issues that we had from that Parabellum loss. So if they opt to take it off the board, it wouldn't shock me, but it's nice that they still have the confidence to push it all the way late. Soniqs obviously want to take Bank off the board, considering that is one of XSET's best maps over the course of this year. So we hit club again. For Soniqs, the last time they played this was all the way back in stage 2 against TSM until that game against Dark Zero just yesterday. So they are 1-1 on the year. As far as XSET are concerned, it's, I think, their 3rd most played map so far. They are still deadlocked at 50-50 on it over the course of this year and still maintain a pretty decent 40% attacking win rate. So considering where Dark Zero were very, very deficient on Clubhouse attacks in Playday 2, I think XSET are not going to have that problem here.
Interesting. All right, well, there you go. What do you think about the maps? Super. Going to Clubhouse, what's your take?
I think it's a map Soniqs expected to play, or that at least was maybe one of their final 3. I think it's very interesting what Jacob just said, that XSET historically have about a 40% win rate on attack on that map. As Jesse mentioned earlier, the Soniqs are the #1 defensive team in the league.
Yeah.
So, you know, if that number keeps up and the Soniqs play the defensive level they played before against Dark Zero when they were up 5-1, potentially that means that, you know, Soniqs can rack up some rounds on defense, but you know, I do know Bodega comes into games with a plan. He likes to counter a little bit, so I'm sure he's watched some VOD footage.
All right, well, we'll find out, but for now, it's time to make some predictions. Time to decide, or not, we don't get to decide. Time to decide who we think is going to win the round. And first, we're going to send it over to our casters. Pengu and Intero waiting, just can't wait. I see them shivering with anticipation, telling me who they think is going to win this one. Are you intimidated by Super on the desk at all? Does that affect you, Pengu?
I think it looks pretty good up there. It sounds pretty good too, honestly. So I'm excited to have him around for Playday 3 and 4.
Does it affect your pick, though?
Honestly, no, because I started on Playday 1 saying that I was thinking that Sonics would be like, they would have a slow start, but they would get better with time. But they proved me wrong. Day 1, day 2, they killed it. So honestly, I'm going to go Sonics for this one.
All right, one for Sonics.
Well, there's definitely like a menacing aura coming from Super. I will say that much. I think he's staring right at me right now. Yeah,
I am.
He's actually staring right at me. That's correct. I can feel it like burning into the side of my head. No, not because he's here, but just because I agree with the logic that Nick has. I do think the Sonics have the upper hand in this matchup. I don't know how much of a cakewalk it's going to be for them. I think I could very easily see this going to overtime because both teams are quite strong, but there's nothing that the Sonics have shown me so far through these 2 playdays that would lead me to believe they'd lose.
All right, there you go. So 2 picks for Sonic. Our casters thinking the momentum from week 1 will continue into week 2. Thank you very much, guys. We'll check back in with you in just a moment when the map actually begins. And now it's time to see what our analysts, including you, Super, you're a guest analyst as well, think as far as who's going to win. First of all,
I mean, do we just need to pencil his pick in right now?
No, I need everyone to. So my request here, you all go before me because I have to weigh my opinion off.
All right,
All right.
You're the guest, so we'll give you special treatment in that regard.
Thank
Jacob, you go first, though.
Well, I'm going to go against the grain. I think it's an XSET map, which I'm mostly based on the fact that they're playing defense first here. I know that that's not something that we allowed the 2 of them when they made their picks to actually weigh into the equation. I think that's probably going to be the non-starter overall. I think if XSET can get off to a quick start there, then when you have to then switch the pace back up again, it's a map both teams, I'm hoping that the Sonics are comfortable with it, even though we've only seen them play it twice. There's already a lot of demonstrated proof that XSET is very comfortable in that environment. So if it's off to a fast start for XSET, I think they take it overall.
True. They want to bounce back for sure. Jesse?
I'll even the score. I'm going to back up Jacob. I think that XSET coming into this stage were the favorites. They were my team that I thought would get that first place. And although they lost a game last week, I still felt like they played a pretty strong game. There were a couple of mistakes that they can probably shore up in this matchup. So I'm feeling good. They're also on a 3-game win streak against the Sonics. Obviously different rosters, but it's been a very long time since SQ has been able to beat this organization. They lost twice this year and then even once last year towards the end of it.
Wait a second. Wait, like stage 3?
Yeah, very different roster.
Oh my
That's
God.
a while back.
It's ancient history. I'm just like, wait a second, that team won something?
Going for the historical perspective is Jesse. So,
And 2 games this year. I think those are maybe the more important
all
ones.
right, fair enough, fair enough. You know, I'll even do the coin before we
I
get
appreciate
to
that.
Well,
It's made a little bit clearer for me now, but I think the coin needs to. I need to see what the coin says.
Okay, you need to see what the force of chance has to say. So as usual, the team on the left side of the graphic, XSET, is going to be heads. The team on the right side of the graphic, Sonics, is going to be tails. Let's Let's flip it and hopefully not drop it. Oh, I didn't drop it. There you
Hold
go.
on.
It is, oh, tails. The coin sides with our analyst here. I guess analyst, it's going to be Soniqs. Now,
He hasn't said what it is yet.
You
You're
see
just
that
revealing.
reaction?
We don't know.
You see that reaction? The coin does, it does have an effect.
Wait a
doesn't it?
second. We can give him even more time. What's the fan vote?
Oh,
True,
sure.
it's true.
We could look at the fan vote too.
Yeah, I got to see it.
I didn't even know the fans would go
All right,
here.
Soniqs took it, 58%.
Oh,
so it is
no.
Soniqs.
Uh-oh.
Well, so what's it going to be? You said they were going to lose in the pre-show. Was that facetious or what
Well-
were you really thinking?
So I wanted to go last because just in case everybody picked it, I would have to pick XSET.
Yeah, fair
So
enough.
since we have at least like some going the other way here, I'll say the Soniqs, but I'm not. They're kind of bad.
This
So
confidence level is incredible
It's
right
just.
now.
It's
All right,
hard
I mean,
for me to say it.
Is
but
this
I
just a
guess
reverse
Soniqs.
jinx? What is this?
You could take the pro gamer out of the team, but you can't take the team out of the program. I don't know how it works. Either way, 4 for the Soniqs, 2 for XSET. We'll see who's right after the map is done. Let's look at the community poll in the meantime now to see what you have to mull over as we go into map number 1. Which team will have more variety in their operator picks, XSET or Soniqs? That's an interesting one. You can vote at R6 Esports NA as well. And don't forget to tweet at us as well and stuff because we show tweets on that big board over there too. So if you want to be up there, I'll just throw that in there. Just do that. But we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, the first map of the day begins. XSET versus Soniqs. Both teams really looking for a win. Let's see who gets one right after this.
Like glue, the leather stuck on me. I wanna move. And do. Yeah, they all want a piece of me. Everyone in the crowd wanna feel it, they wanna be me. Thought I would make it big. Now I got all the gold that I need to be free. And you all want a part of it. Getting my tears fresh, I see it better work and you look at it.
Today, I guess, is the rule of threes. It's the third stage. It's our third play day.
Okay.
And we're going to see teams that are above third place in the standings. I tried to loop them all together. I'm
Okay.
Intero, this is Pengu. We're starting off stage 3, play day number 3 with XSET versus Soniqs, 2 of the best teams that have been in this region for about a calendar year at this point.
Yeah, but they're on different sides of the pond right now because one team made 2 changes to the roster and one team made 0 changes. So that means different approaches. So far, they both look decent, but as we said, we kind of favor the Soniqs because they looked a little bit better compared to where we thought they'd be.
That's true. The Soniqs changes came under intense scrutiny when Super announced last stage that he would no longer be sticking with the team for stage 3. Well, we knew that he'd bring a wealth of experience. We knew that he would bring a wealth of experience to the team in terms of his understanding. And even though he has spoken about the decreased need of a dedicated IGL, stands for in-game leader, for those of you that don't know the acronym, that still his leadership on the team would help move Soniqs forward. Gio came in, and as you could hear on the desk segment that preceded us talking, he felt that Gio was a straight upgrade in every single way. It was a no-brainer, and yet he got moved off of the team. He's on Space Station. Space Station is in our next game.
Yeah.
Up against Parabellum. But right now, the Soniqs go to Dubhouse, aka Clubhouse, up against an XSET team. I know that we gave our prediction, but what are your expectations for this match?
So when I first saw Soniqs were going up against Dark Zero on Clubhouse last week, I was thinking that's a bit of a risky one because Club is all about the strategical elements and like fundamentals of a team. When do you go for the kill? When do you go for the plant? Working around the Heartbreach and the EMPs, trying to open up as many walls as possible. And I was thinking the loss of Super is going to negatively impact Soniqs on a map like Clubhouse. But then they slammed Dark Zero 7-3 in a pretty, one-sided fashion. I was like, okay, I take it back. I feel like this squad, they got it figured out way ahead of schedule, and now they're going to go back to that same map against XSET. So for this particular matchup, XSET, I'm expecting some counters. I expect them to have watched the game and then not make the same mistakes as Dark Zero. And I think it comes down to reading out your opponent better because as Jesse and Jacob spoke of on the desk, Soniqs weren't picking as many fights as Dark Zero might have expected, but it seemed like XSET, they can force fights of their own, and Superset it, they can match Soniqs 1-to-1 in firepower, and that's why XSET is a hard opponent for them.
Looks like we have almost everybody in the lobby right now, just waiting on one last XSET player.
Oh, you called out it was an XSET player missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So their fault.
Do you want to narrow down even further who it is, or are you just going to leave it at XSET? Are you going to point any fingers?
Do you want me to say who it is?
No, I think it's rude.
It's Gomez.
No, don't.
It's not Gomez's fault. He's not in the lobby.
What if it is? What if he uninstalled the game as a joke and then realized that, oh, he's got to reinstall it again now, last second?
Well, then I hope to God that the internet speeds at the Esports Arena in Las Vegas are very, very fast, because I went to update Rainbow Six the other day, and it was like 70 gigs.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, pardon me?
Yeah, I believe they reformat it for like the new season or whatever, and it's like overall it's like a good change because the game gets smaller, but you do have to go through that big download one time before that happens, so it can be a few gigs sometimes.
Well, we are actually waiting on something tech related. I feel badly now because I don't know if it's Gomez related or not. I feel terrible. But I am being told that we are unfortunately not quite ready yet to start the match. So if you're wondering what happened in the offseason with the Soniqs, wonder no more. We have a video package for you.
Yeah, so roster changes after the major, Seth was pretty much already on his way out. Gunner was already like in the works. Gio was super like last second,
For role-wise, as Seth is our breach player, it doesn't really make sense for Gunner to take that role. So we thought getting Gio for Xander or Yeti would be the best option for us long-term because Gio will play breach.
Funny story for the team dynamic, I actually have known Seth for since the game was on Xbox Pro League. So the funny thing is, every team I've left, he's joined. So it's kind of like bittersweet just at the end, he leaves and I join his team at the end. And then we just have Gunner, dropped 100+ kills. He's insane. So it's just, I'm excited to see what we can do.
Hi, my name's Gunner and I play Flex for the Soniqs. The way I got on Soniqs was my org owner comes to me, he's like, so we have some teams that are interested in looking at you, and then they listed them and I just said only Soniqs I'd be interested in, and a couple weeks later, here I am on the Soniqs.
Gio's a very upbeat guy, very easy to work with, brings up good vibes, also a very good player, that guy's insane. Same with Gunner. Gunner, fun fact, we both went to the same high school, live in the same city. But with those two, Gunner obviously, very promising, young Gunner, a very good player, brings good vibes, open to learning. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I definitely think we have a better mentality now. Obviously, playing with the same people for 2 years straight can get kind of repetitive or boring, I guess you could say. Bringing in 2 different players, refreshes the environment and makes you kind of want to strive to get better.
Close to you.
tripping, Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us, red run when I tell her peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Bendo with the switch again. Boy deliver like he heffernin'. Core with digits, give him estimates. Somersaults for my Benjamins. I got what you need, baby. Skirt the Chevy, make a scene, baby. LABB been the team, baby. Been Papa, word the G, baby. Look, lab till I'm finished. Had a handful of limits through the hand. Got a bag, now the hands in the business. For my hand, it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been playing with the minutes that they been shoulda gave. And I'm flipping every digit that they been shoulda paid. Had to find a way to get it. No, this isn't what you made. If I ever wanna dip, then I'm brink with the blade. And I'm brinking a blink on the brink of some dumb shit. Watch how I move, cause I know the brink's coming. Watch for the blues, cause I know that they dumping. Nothing in my view, so it's hush on discussion. Hush on discussions, you know what you need to. I keep it in the fam to let you know that I don't need you. Y'all cats be see-through, heading out to peace. You been king, I'm regal, got it in my Abisu. Came through tripping, Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us, red run when I tell her peace. Love is love. Love is love. Hold up with it, got my back on Pippin. I'm back in kitchens with the tray. Windows tinted like how black my skin is. Scoop the shorty in it from a J. Swish, she got vision just like any women giving me the kitten. Way before the riches, nothing more to mention. I could light a block up high or a glisten. Foreign on my body, that's Agora linen. I came through tripping, Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business, stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us, red run when I tell her peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can
All right, it's time to get this show on the road. Everybody from XSET is in, everybody from Soniqs is in, and it's time for us to collide in the server.
You're so animated today, Parker.
The server. I'm pumped. My flight was not that delayed.
Nice.
not like Super's.
Oh boy.
Super's flight was delayed like 6 hours or something along those lines.
It happens. It happens. He made it though. He was here.
It's funny because if the moment that he found out about the delay, if he'd gotten off the plane and just gotten into a car and drove all the way here,
oh my God, yeah,
he would have made it here in time.
That's true.
I've done the drive from Vegas to LA twice before, and it only takes about 4-ish hours. Obviously, the big snag is traffic in and around the Los Angeles area, which is always a nasty thing. Either way, enough about LA, because we're in Germany. We're at the Clubhouse. That is correct. We're in Dusseldorf. XSET starting on defense, Soniqs starting on attack. XSET are still in that top 4, but they are tied up. It's only been 2 play days. They have a 1-1 record, as you can see at the top. The Soniqs currently undefeated, sitting atop the standings, and have looked pretty indomitable so far.
That they have, of course, Operator Bands really shaped the landscape of Clubhouse. Capita going out first, followed up by, is it going to be a Thatcher? There it is. Soniqs are taking off that old person off the board, but the secondary EMPs will still be available on those key operators like the Lion, like the Dokubi, like the Osa. First vendor to follow along is going to be Asami, a stable operator both on the band side and the pick side on various maps. Chalet, Skyscraper, and Clubhouse, 3 maps where she will either get played or picked. This time, she will no longer be on the board.
Last one to follow up is a Kaid ban, interestingly enough. The changes to the meta, which we have spoken about at length over the first 2 play days, but always bears repeating, especially for those of you that are newer fans that are tuning in for maybe the first or even just like the second time and haven't heard us mention it, is that there was a great bit of upheaval in Rainbow Six over the last update. Not only was Grim added as one of the newest operators, but also changes to pretty much every single gun's recoil pattern, most notably the LMGs. So LMGs used to be extremely strong and very meta. You would see the Zofia run the LMG, Capitao would run his LMG, you would see Finka as the biggest one. Almost all those operators, while some of them still remain meta like Zofia, you don't see the LMG get brought out, back to the AR as the standard. Additionally, there's a secondary gadget that was added to the game, very similar to the mini thermites that were added a couple seasons ago. There are now mini EMPs that have been added, and as such, the pick and ban rate of Thatcher has gone way down. Nook has been the most banned operator so far this stage, yet she remains available and unbanned as we start off round number 1.
That she does. Do keep in mind that those secondary EMPs, the radius is significantly smaller than a Thatcher EMP, and they only disable any electricity or gadgets for 9 seconds. So the kite ban to match the Thatcher kind of makes sense because it can be very difficult to deal with both a kite claw and a mute jammer on the same wall because the radius doesn't reach both. Either way, first round is underway. A roam extension from XSET and a good impact trick there from the Wamai of Yogg to deny the Selma charge opening on the wall. Of course, Soniqs are opting for a double heartbeat situation. You do need that on Clubhouse. There are too many walls and hatches for a singular operator. They're bringing the Ace and they're bringing the Thermite. So despite this being a basement attack, they're not opting for the Hibana for that kitchen hatch, which most teams prefer. They're likely just gonna, opt for the roam clear here instead, but they've kind of left Yogg alone so far and instead putting attention towards Spirits and Master Bedroom.
It's a minute now as we start off with the discovery phase as always. XSET very committed to that top floor hold. Gunner the first one to see any bit of daylight, and it's down onto Yaga. Very first pick goes in favor of the Soniqs. Both Rexon and Gunner have taken a little bit of lumps, but are still ultimately upright. One of the major downsides to attacking teams with Finka not being available is that when you commit to gunfights, you have no way to get yourself back up top. We saw a lot of very aggressive, very scrappy gameplay that was enabled by Finka because even if you took about 70% of your life away, you could still get most of it back depending on what stage of the round it was in. It's not really the case anymore, so we've seen a bit less, I would say, enthusiasm to take engagements now that there isn't that healing option available for the attackers.
No, it's a good point, and it takes a bit of adjusting to for pro players because, the punishment there is now real like it once used to be, so every single piece of damage that you take, you're gonna, go forward with that health missing throughout the rest of the round. Hatch being opened up, 2 summons on the blue hatch, 1 exothermic charge on bar, and the last exothermic should likely go on the kitchen hatch. Now, there is a C4 available from Spirits, but it doesn't look like he's going to be challenging, so Geo should be okay to pop open this hatch safely. Note that there is no smoke grenades on the Thermite. Those will be on Grixor on the Jackal instead. With 37 seconds left on the clock, it's going to be an execute relatively soon from Soniqs because otherwise the Toxic Babes will be problematic.
They're also just going to flat out run out of time. How many times have we seen a team just ultimately lose out to the clock? I feel like because of the way that the meta has changed and teams maybe not being the most comfortable with their new lineups, there has been not as much urgency to be able to get on in. Numbers even out though as Diaz fires back before Kino is traded out. So the advantage stays in favor of Soniqs. Kansan drops in the midst of the smoke. The diffuser in the hands of Geo will need to get planted. Down goes Spirits, down goes Diaz, and it's Gomez to try and clutch. He can't do it. Grixor walks right in and Soniqs take round number 1.
Yeah, and again, like that opening kill that Gunner got early on that blue window really pays off because in a 5 versus 4 scenario, you have the mana advantage from the get-go. So when you trade 1 for 1, it goes 4 versus 3. Then it goes 3 versus 2. Eventually, you'll hit that 1 versus 0 mark and win the round. When it comes down to a basement execute, having more guns alive than the opponent is always going to be king because the defenders, they have to worry about the blue hatch, the blue stairs, the garage hallway in the basement as well from pits, kitchen hatch, moto hatch, long hallway downstairs and basement. There are so many different angles and avenues that the attackers can entry from. And when you're missing one person on the board, it's one less angle you can cover. And XSET, they're going to change the bomb set around from basement up into bar. And bar is a bomb set that historically doesn't get a whole lot of play. But let's go back to the most recent major of Berlin Major, right?
Yes.
In the final round between FaZe and Rogue, it was actually a bar defense that got Rogue the victory. So Bar is slowly kind of building his reputation to be a viable bomb site at a very high level of play. It was played in LATAM throughout Stage 2 and Stage 1 earlier in the year, and it was played a tiny bit in both North America and Europe, but I do expect this bomb site to see more and more play as time progresses on this map.
Oh, this is a bit of an unconventional bomb site here, but I do like it. I like it very much.
You can extend, you can use the whole map, right? Up in server, up in master, you can go into strip if you want, you can go into garage. You really can choose to fight every single entry point from the attackers if you want to, or just kind of sit tight on the bomb site itself and hope that you don't get overrun by verticality.
It really depends as well on how the defense structures this. Castle is seen quite frequently on these bar stage defenses. Obviously, XSET is foregoing a castle for this particular instance, and instead will likely use those intel devices that come with the Valkyrie, the Echo, and the Maestro. So lots of information to be had, but just because you have that info does not necessarily mean you are able to act on it. You can have all the black eye cams and evil eye cams in the world, but if you're losing your duels or just simply getting pounced on from good drone work on the attacker's side of things, then it doesn't really mean all that much. Anyway, this extension that you talked about for this bomb site leads Soniqs to roam clear up top, and Gunner again could be the first one in an engagement, but has to be wary of the opening that's been created in the logistics wall leading into construction. Yaga playing behind a deployable shield is largely secure, but the Soniqs will have to tackle this beachhead before they can get anything happening. There's 90 seconds left in the round for them to do so.
Yeah, I mean, Yaga in this position is going to be the first obstacle for Soniqs. And opening up that wall next to Gunner, which is now being opened up with a single combo, is going to force him backwards. And look at that timing. A nice swing with the Selma charge secures a free opening kill, and it solves the problem of that position that he was in.
Huge value for Gunner upstairs. Not only 3-0, but also in a position where he's cleaning up on kills and getting that utility to boot. XSET don't really know how to respond at this exact moment, and they seem to lack some information as to where the remaining players from Soniqs are coming from. Explosions going off in front of our very eyes. Gunner can get walked in towards logistics. He knows it's free and clear, so now it's time to go into the bedroom. But this angle being held by Spirits, double duty now as he moves over to the window. He's got one member of Soniqs down. Can he get another? He looks away at the last second. He and Rexon were almost on a collision course there.
But they are. I mean, the timers went down so low now. There's no trade game really here from the side of Soniqs because it's a Spirits holding down the fort upstairs and bounce the bedroom and bathroom.
And now Spirits with just a single point of HP. It's not too long for the Soniqs to collapse on him. But again, the Soniqs are getting bogged down on this top floor take with 30 seconds to go and even less time now available for them. They'll have to reposition. Kansan leading the charge down the stairs. Two members of XSET on the bottom stairs landing. Diaz trying to play safe. If there's a yokai still available, he can steal the round right now if he really wants to. But no! Gomez, where are you? Kansan gets killed, but the Maestro is down. Will need to be retrieved, picked back up, looking for the yokai desperately. Diaz off of the plant. Now the rest of this team will need to come into action. Gio's so close with Grixer covering. The plant goes down well, but they can't cover appropriately. And Gomez is the hero of the round with the final 2 kills. All they need to do is pounce on that diffuser, and XSET will equalize at 1 round apiece.
Look at the HP. I mean, Diaz and Gomez are both 1 bullet away from death, essentially, and Gio just came off the plant successfully, but didn't know which way to look first because both members are closing in so fast at the same time. A very close round indeed, but it's XSET who takes the bar defense and finding success on that tertiary bomb side whose pick rate isn't all that high. And the pace really is the thing that we gotta talk about, because just like against Dark Zero last Playday, the Soniqs are not necessarily attacking the way you'd expect, right? They're really taking their time and making sure that they hit all their marks. And they got the opening kill once again. It was Gunner with that Selma charge inside construction, taking down Yogg on the Wamai. And it looked like such a great beginning, but then a bit of a blunder in towards that master bedroom execute where the trades weren't really coming around. They took a long time to get from step 1 to step 2. And then by the time the bomb site was the next objective, well, they were forced to plant with less than 5 seconds left. Yokai came out, that made things even more dire, and then it was a 2 versus 3 as we saw. Ultimately, it was a very close round. But Soniqs really choosing to opt for a pace change. I could see them go very aggressive all of a sudden once they find the right bomb set that they would like to do it on, and once they see that opening being a possibility. Always keep XSET guessing as to what their next move is. That's a good way to keep your enemies kind of confused as to what they should be doing to counteract. Jammers being put in the walls, and opening above the reinforcement indicates an impact or C4 trick from the defending side. So if Soniqs were to challenge the CCTV area of the map, well, XSET, they are prepared for it.
A good answer back from XSET there. I saw that Echo play coming a mile away. I think we all did. If you don't, as an attacking team, try to force the Echo out of whatever safe position they may be in this case, over towards Strip, then you're going to have to fear the Yokai. And you could see Grixer was trying to spot it while Geo was getting that diffuser planted, which allowed the rest of XSET the time to get up the stairs and then engage in that final duel. Again, as low as HP as they were, Soniqs don't have an ability to get themselves back from all that little chip damage that they're going to suffer through the process of a round.
You're right. It does look like Soniqs, they will challenge. Soft will open up, hard walls are next. What does Soniqs have available? Of course, Selma charges and exothermic charges. XSET, as I mentioned, they have those impact grenades, so depending on how you opt to breach these walls, it can be difficult to get a proper opening in. We see Yogg here with the first set of impacts. Feet level hole being made. Of course, Yogg can throw his impact through it or take the gunfight instead. The damage goes up, but he gets out alive. That's important because this time around for the defenders, Parker, there is healing on the board. Gomez has brought the Thunderbird. Look at Yogg's health. He's back to full HP just moments after taking all that damage. So Soniqs, they've not really gained anything but a bit of map control, and they burned Heart Breach, and they burned time, and they've burned a few drones in the process, only that being 2.
All right, just past the halfway point. No damage has been done yet to either team. Again, this discovery phase that we talk about is the first minute, roughly. If you want to break it down, you've got the first minute, which could even extend into the first 90 seconds, minute and a half of a round, where the discovery work that's being done by the attackers could lead to an early pick, which it does here onto Diaz. I don't know if Rexon just was simply going for a pretty standard pre-fire or if there was greater information there, but look at how close Gunner is to the bomb site. What on earth? He is so near to it. Steps away. Gunner is really streets ahead of the competition at the moment. They don't account for the fact that Yogg is playing downstairs. An uncharacteristic miss for Grixer on that engagement. Geo sets the numbers back into a 3v3 as Kansan's been felled as well. Down goes Rexon. Spirits and XSET are firing back. Now it's Geo's turn over towards the stairs as he flashes out. He's shoulder to shoulder with Gunner, who takes advantage of one of those Kona stations. Gives himself a bit more staying power. Now the cutoff for SQ. Diffuser going down, and Gunner is holding this position at the top of the stairs. Both players from XSET will look to retake from the same area. They're going to walk right into Gunner's line of sight, playing this angle, but he repositions. He's given them a window to go through weight room if they so choose. They're going to have to swing on to Gunner at the same time. All the while, Geo is repositioned as well. XSET fighting for their lives at this position. A pre-fire from Gomez does not work out. Weakens Gunner, but he's still upright. His 5th kill to his name. Yaga searching for more. He got 1 to start off the midway point of this round, but he's running out of time with that diffuser. Hunting for Geo, but Geo's the one to get the kill. Soniqs regain the lead.
That they do, and a great opening once again. Always finding opening kill and superset like a 97% conversion rate when they get the opening kill into a round victory. And they're really making sure that they get that every single time because, again, they're very slow pace. And XSET, they matched right here. Yogg with an impact grenade got that kill onto Grixer down below. But the downside of that happening is that the moment they saw Yogg downstairs and they saw Gomez on the main stairs, well, Geo and Gunner knew last 2 members are both roaming as they could deduct that from the operator weapons or operators themselves. So the plant, it was relatively free. Both members were playing impact grenades, so no C4 was really had there. And no information on the side, seemingly, as there was no real yellow pings going out at all. So good round again from Soniqs. Basements on the table, on the menu now for XSET instead. They're gonna try one more time. In the opening round, they went basement. Soniqs did a very slow roam clear into that kitchen hatch execute. They didn't go for the plant, they went for kills, and they were successful in that. But a bit of a different operator lineup right now. Gunner is actually attacker repicking from the Sophia onto Nuke. That's going to be the first time in this matchup where she gets played. And I will say on Clubhouse, Nuke is not the most common operator because the map isn't this, you know, it's not a bank, it's not a huge open map with a bunch of different avenues really. You got your garage, your blue window, you can go in strip side or top floor, but usually you have like one pathway towards your objective, and that's going to be one of those main staircases. Now, Nuke does have those frag grenades regardless of whether you want to be sneaking around or not, so you're always going to have more explosive utility, but I'm curious as to see if Gunner's going to be going in solo. As he's proning through the door into stock, it looks like he is going to be trying and disrupting these roamers. Gomez in the blue stairs, and while Maya of York just ran up that staircase, he could easily find one free kill here.
This really has been a slugfest, though, but Gunner's been so good. Can he creep up and capitalize off of this? Yes, he can.
That's so scary.
Easily done, and that's a jump scare for Gomez. Gunner had some issues in his first 2 play days with being among the first to die for Soniqs, and yet they still persevered. Well, now Gunner is leading the way in these opening picks. I believe he has 3 of the 4 so far for the Soniqs, and he's 6-1. I mean, Yaga tries to engage. He gets a kill on the Rexen, but Kansan is there for the follow-up. They trade out, but every single time there's a trade out for the remaining 2 minutes of this round, it will benefit the Soniqs.
I mean, the fact that Yaw gets a kill there is actually really impressive and very important because that's a 5v3 otherwise with both Ace and Thermite alive. So he really shouldn't have gotten that kill, but that's Yog's raw aim skill and mechanical skill that got him there. And now the side of Soniqs have to attack with just 2 exothermic charges at their disposal. They have to make a hard decision now. Which 2 hatches or which wall are you going to be breaching? It's going to be bar. That's step number 1. That's either going to be in church wall downstairs is next, or the kitchen hatch will be up instead. No impact on eyes from XSET. Kitchen hatch is relatively safe to open if you want to go for it. The C4 Spirits didn't get used aggressively last time. It might not be this time either. Ultimately, it comes down to the executing the gunfights. You can do the best strategy in the game in Rainbow Six Siege, but if you lose your ones, you lose that 50-50 gunfight, well, the round is not going to go your way. And it is indeed going to be a Moto hatch, kitchen hatch, execute. So a similar fashion as the first time around. Let's see if XSET can hold it or not.
Well, I think the big issue is going to be blue control, whether Soniqs can get it very quickly and box XSET in. They've lost Spirits now, so 2 players for XSET stand against the tide of SQ. Gunner continuing his reign of terror. Kino repositioning over towards Church, so some light blue control is still there, but Kansan's split push down dirt is too much for XSET to handle. Kino now with 0 kills to his name. He sees the calves of 1 player, but not much more. He control this recoil, yes he can. Gunner had just a tiny bit of HP. And for Kino, it was just a couple bullets. But Grixer's there for the follow-up, watching Moto door. Soniqs will stretch their lead after the diffuser goes down. They're up 3-1 over XSET.
And again, it's all about that man advantage. They came from so many different areas. Blue stairs, dirt tunnel, kitchen hatch, and main stairs / Moto. So 4 different positions from the attackers against just 2 defenders. You gotta pick your options. And well, you look the wrong way at the wrong time, you might just get shot in the side. That's exactly what happened. Last 3 rounds in a row, all 3 rounds were plants from the side of Soniqs. Open and kill all 4 rounds so far, although be it 2 of them were traded back relatively quickly by XSET. But they really got the statistical advantage right now, looking really good on Clubhouse, both against DC, last Playday, and so far on their attacking side against XSET, looking quite formidable as well. And XSET actually has called a tactical timeout, so both coaches of both teams can talk to their players to see what's the next steps, what they're going to change. And one thing to bring up is, on the analyst desk, we spoke about how when Dark Zero called their timeout after round 4, as Jesse mentioned, well, Soniqs actually changed up their pace entirely because they're like, okay, they have called the tactical timeout. Their coach is seeing something. They might be ready for what we're going to be doing. We're going to just change things up. They were on defense back then. They went for an aggressive spawn peak. We could very well see a rush this round from Soniqs to be like, you know what? That tactical timeout is not going to matter. We're going to change the pace entirely and keep you guessing as to what we'll do next. So we'll see. Gunner is flexing around so far, so we can see when the round starts for real, what operator he will be on. That might signify what kind of push they'll be going for. Nuke, he was sneaking around. Sophia, he's entering. On Maverick, likely gonna take a backseat and breach those walls first, as we are fighting ourselves on the CCTV bomb side.
10 seconds left.
I like the time being taken now. Again, there's some theory crafting that happens when teams take the time out because you have 2 rounds remaining on defense for XSET, and then obviously they swap sides. How much of that discussion, how much of that conversation that's happening with their coach Vivas behind them is about this defense? How much is looking forward towards attack? How much is just trying to like settle nerves as well? Because a lot of times with XSET, they always thrive after a timeout. Is it because they get some more strategic element that's been missing, or is it because their mindset needs to be changed? That's a question that can be done in the exit interviews. For now, we can speculate. This is the very first time that we are seeing a defense of this CCTV cache bomb site. That is correct. You are hearing that right.
Yeah.
Took 5 rounds. Why? Because the third bomb site that showed up was actually the bar stage bomb site down on that first floor, which is the only bomb site that XSET has won so far, which is really remarkable given the way that Clubhouse tends to play out for the defenders.
That it is. 3 members on the main piece now. Here is Gunner, or Sledge, Maverick, and Thermite rather. Gunner's gonna walk around and rotate elsewhere. They got the wall open up relatively easily, so there's no bandit on the board for XSET, so no real wall that can be had. But they're just walking in Garage, just gets that opening kill, and that's gonna open up the round so quickly for them. But DS, he's hiding on the rafters. Oh my god.
Rexon is on something today. Geo adds to the tally. XSET took this time out, but it is not anywhere near as successful as they would have liked. Only 2 players from XSET left with 90 seconds to go. Grixer a kill of his own. It won't be a team ace because there were 2 kills from Rexon earlier on. And there will be no team ace at all. Geometrics taken down by Yaga, who's still on this one-man stand inside of Cash. Tries to rotate out, but it's a 3-piece for Rexon. That means Soniqs will take the first half 4x because there's still 1 more round to go. They could take it 5-1. They could lose it 4-2. But either way, Soniqs very firmly in the driver's seat of this matchup.
I think that round is like, I feel like if you were to, like, if you asked me, explain the roster change of Soniqs, I'll be like, play this round for them. It's just like the firepower right now from every single member is just there. And I think Super spoke about it as well. He said, Geo plays the same role as I did, but he's a better individual player. And right now, Soniqs, if they want to, they can quite literally just walk over XSET on a CCTV attack like that. And we spoke about pace and the tactical time, and they might go for a rush. Well, they didn't go for a rush, but the round ended within 60 seconds, essentially, from that when that wall first got opened up. They drone Garage a singular time. 1 member of Soniqs held downstairs of Lounge so that the swing couldn't be had for a trade. 2 members walk in Garage door. They get the first initial kill. Then they find the person hiding on the rafters. And then Geo finds another kill on the side as well. They just completely are on a tear when it comes to finding these members of XSET. And when you burn your tactical timeout, that normally you thrive off of, when your coach gives you valid strategical input, at least we can assume that he did, and then that happens, it's like, okay, what are we gonna do now, boys? Well, let's go back to bar, where we found success in the second round. It was off that yokai that stalled out the plant so long that the members of XSET could push on up and get that crossfire going. But such a close round. Both members were 1 HP when the round ended, and ultimately could have gone either way. If anything, we gotta look at opening kills. XSET needs to either stay alive for longer and burn down that clock, or they need to lash back and be the ones to actually get the opening kill in their favor, because right now they're losing it every single time, and it's not a good look.
Could be a call now to work in synchronization. Is Gunner being droned in, or is this him working off of his own ability? A drone will fall, so at least that opening that was created was done so with limited assistance. Yaga sees the tracers overhead, knows there's one in proximity, and suspects a drone will follow up. There it goes, and Yaga misses the jump over. This is a very similar position where Yaga was before, and he's going to lose some of the protection right next to him as that metal reinforcement leading outside in construction has now been opened as well. All that Yaga has is a deployable shield in front of him. That's all that separates him from the rest of Soniqs. Another bar defense, by the way. Could XSET go 2-0 on this incredibly odd bomb site for a lot of teams to defend?
I really like Gunner right now. He's sneaking on the basement, trying to, you know, make a different play across the map while the rest of Soniqs distracts the enemies. And he might try to find a free here into Kino on the main stairs. They know he played here last round, so if you go off that logic, he might be there again. And he's oh so close to his gun barrel, which is about an inch away.
They're going to see that massive Alda not too far off, but Gunner again waiting for a call, and it's a freebie as Kino walks right into him. 6 rounds, and the Soniqs have the opening duel in all of them. Hard-pressed to find yourself a better advantage than that. Things go even worse for Soniqs now as Swinger be swung. Spirits decides to swing, misses onto Geo. Still at this jacuzzi breach. Diffuser in hand. The only real problem could be if Geo falls here, somebody will need to move over to get that diffuser, but Geo's doing it all himself. A second kill for him. Now it's Gunner involved in a gunfight. He's been dropped by Yaga, but they cannot secure the kill. Soniqs will snap their fingers and circle in around as Yaga is down for the count. Geo a 3-piece. It's Diaz stranded on an island downstairs by Billiard. A flawless denied yet again as Rexon gets out-dueled by Diaz off the hatch. But Diaz has so much work to be done. And he gets droned out over by the bathroom. The 4 players from Soniqs. Just seconds away.
15 seconds left.
Diffuser in the hands of Geo. Can he walk it into the bomb site? Will Diaz be able to find anything? No! Grixer with the F2 in hand seals the deal in that first half. The Soniqs 5-1. Absolute domination.
I am such a big fan of how Soniqs are breaking down these attack rounds because they went for the exact same attack as the first on the attack bar with one minor detail that has such a big impact. It's Gunner going for that flank across the map. So it all looks, you know, the exact same if you're XSET. Oh, they open the same ult, the same time, the same way, but the same operator of Thermite. Okay. And then we're all thinking, okay, we know what's next. They're going to breach this single wall construction and they're going to swing Yogg on the shield. Maybe Yogg dies, maybe stays alive, whatever. No. They did the same things, but Gunnar went basement up the main stairs and found that opening kill, and that creates this massive effect of chaos on XSET. They've lost one of their only members near the bomb site because Echo's all the way in strip. He's sitting on the camera. The roamers are now unsure whether to stick around or go back downstairs, so they're moving around a lot. Geo finds 2 kills on the breach because members of XSET are running around way too much for their own good, and that's just a free pick for Geo. And that's why Geo is a hard support as a Thermite player. The planter of the team is sitting on 7 kills right now. He is just sitting up the fishing line, and when the bait takes it, well, it's a free kill for him. It's an aggressive roam game on this basement roam defense for Soniqs, Capcan, Vigil, Mute, Muzzy, Melusi. We are screaming all across the map that we're going to be roaming, denying information, denying drones, slowing down the attackers. And XSET, they got a hard decision to make. Do you rush the bomb side and gamble that it might be clear, or do you try and roam clear? One of the hardest roam clear lineups that there is on this map. Either way, it's going to be a challenge and a half, especially because Soniqs are hitting their marks, and XSET, they're not really winning their gunfights right now.
What? Just how you finish that point by just the most underrated comment of the day. You totally undersell them. You're like, yeah, XSET's just not really winning their gunfights.
They're not.
That's just so simple.
Oh,
stuff.
they won a gunfight!
Hey! Goodbye, Kansan. Yaga gives XSET the very first blood for his team. And hey, one thing I will say about XSET is while they have not looked that strong here in this matchup, and I would argue not as proficient, oh my, nice shot by Gomez, not as proficient so far in this stage, I can say 2 things about XSET.
Okay.
Number 1, on attack, they are so good at usually getting in the building, making space, getting that first pick. Time and time again, XSET seems to excel in that position. And number 2, they always tend to excel after a timeout. The second has not happened yet. They took their timeout at the tail end of round number 4. Since then, they have not won a single round. But now on attack, they take out Kansan first. They follow up with Grixer. So at least part of what we like to see from XSET is still occurring. The other issue that SQ is going to have to deal with is that they've got a Monty breathing down their necks inside of Dirt Tunnel. Kino can continue to march forward as that shield operator and make a huge problem for Soniqs. Gunner, I don't know if he got baited in or not, but he's down for the count. Now Kino will duel against Geo, and they sound the alarm. Everybody is in. Rexon denies a flawless round, as we have seen time and time again. These teams get so tantalizingly close, but they can't get every single kill without suffering a single death. XSET picks up their very first round on attack, and that's their second round in this match.
And they needed that so badly, right? Not just a round victory, but a confident one at that. They got their gunfights, they won every single one of them. The Monty in Dirt, you mentioned it, huge fan of that as well, because there's no smoke on the defensive side of Soniqs, so you can't really stop Monty from just walking in and creating chaos. You also can't really deny him from the freedom of just walking around as he pleases, because the only real counter we have for Monty is going to be like Echo and Smoke. because the toxic babes will do damage, they'll deny the area. If you yokai stun a Monty, you force the shield out of his extended position, you can shoot his legs. Sure, you can try and throw a C4, but a good multiplayer will just coordinate around that and, turn accordingly. So that's not really going to work out necessarily. It's going to force a bomb site switch here from Soniqs. There was too much to handle downstairs, so up we go instead to the top of the gym. Mirror being brought out, no Frost on the table, which bit of a shame because Frost lately in both the EUL and the NAL has had so much success. She got added back that 1.5 exhume scope. Rexen, my man. He went for a spawn peek on stock door, it seems like, and he took out Yogg on the floors. That's gonna make life a little bit more difficult because it's the only soft breacher that you had on your table. There's no grenades, there's no Sophia, no Ash. So now you only really have flashbangs and gun skill to work against this lineup that is going to involve both Maestro cameras and mirror windows, and of course vertical positions that you can no longer clear because you don't have any explosives to do so with it. Gonna be a tough round for XSET. But they gotta try and find their way in somewhere on the map right now. Scouting around, multiple drones going in windows, going in drone holes, figuring out exactly what is and what isn't clear.
Interesting to see Maverick get brought back in. I feel like Maverick's pick rate has been through the basement at this point, way down through the ground. Obviously losing nades significantly hurt him. Flashes being brought by Diaz instead, and I don't know exactly what your intended goal is here of clearing out, unless these flashes are actually designed to flash people, which we so seldom see at this level. Usually they're done to burn an ADS or a magnet for a nade to get thrown in. Well, I don't know exactly what you're going to do against Soniqs, because Rexen just continues to swing, picks up his second kill of the round. Boy, oh boy. Gunner and Rexen combining for 15 kills. Geo not too far behind with 7 of his own. Grixer with 6. This is a lopsided scoreboard for the Soniqs. And they are 3 kills away from putting themselves on a match point. We've seen XSET in worse situations in the past. They've been able to clutch their way out of the unthinkable. But their clutch master tends to be Kino, and he is having a rough game so far. And both Yaga and Gomez are not available as well to clutch out. So this could be quite dire. 1 minute to go in the round.
XSET is fishing right now, right? We saw it on Catwalk Raft. They're trying to sneak around, get an opening kill. Spirits, again, just holding down an angle. They need to wait for an opening kill somewhere to get back the score somewhat here in the man count. But we'll go in, Flashbang comes out. Beautiful execute there on the member of Gunner, who's alone office.
He's still in this position. Spirits looking for yet another. Now it's Rexen to take some damage, but Spirits gives his position away over on Logistics. Rexen picks up a 3rd kill. He's got every single kill so far for the team, and ace denied by Grixer. A 4K still on the menu. Diaz walks in, but it's Geo to seal the deal. A team effort by Soniqs. They are firing on all cylinders, and they are putting XSET into the wastebasket. It's 6-2, match point now for Soniqs.
Yeah. And I'm actually very curious what would have happened in that round if no spawn peek occurred from Rexen, because it really looked like the Flora skill hurt them because they were fishing so much. It seemed like there was no real strategy going into that round the moment that occurred. They were droning kind of loosely, 1 member downstairs, 1 member on the window, 1 member on the breach, waiting for Soniqs to make a mistake or to swing and then maybe lose a gunfight to try and get back at least 1 or 2 kills. Nothing really happened. And then, XSET, they actually quite beautifully, they opened up the round for themselves. Maverick on the hatch with Flashbang down into office. Spirits walked up the main stairs, got the kill. That looked really cleanly done. But what really went wrong was that Kino was on the windows of the master bedroom alone and got shot from the CCTV window. Diffuser was dropped outside. He ended up dying. All of a sudden, well, you got the bomb site somewhat in control, but you ain't got much to do with it because you gotta go retake that diffuser case. That flash up in the corner. Normally when I see that, I'm always thinking like, there's no way that's ever gonna work. But I think it's those kind of frost traps where you're thinking, there's no way. Those are the best ones because no one is going to really be expecting it. So it comes down to drone information, sharing that information, and making sure that nobody makes that misstep as you're injured throughout the map.
Well, no bar stage defense here. Soniqs will hang their hat on a cache CCTV defense. Much more standard, as we see. Garage being patrolled and held off by Rexen. Can he fend off the interlopers when they come? That's the real question.
No.
But Grixer rips a nitro cell and down goes Gomez. It's not a spawn peek, but it's a spawn kill.
That is, again, if I am Gomez right now, I'm so angry, right? I make it out of spawn, I droned, I had information, I can see for it. out of nowhere, basically. And now my team is playing 4 vs 5 on match point that we need to win this round. Yogg, Kino, Spirits, and DS, they gotta show up in big force now. Try and get this round back into their own hands.
All firing away at the now open wall, or well, rather, reinforceless wall, barricaded-less wall. A late shield will get put up by Rexen as he knows that Garage might become a greater focus with the door shot out by him. He's inviting them in. It'll be Diaz to potentially take the bait. With Zofia down, they lack any direct ability to open that up without a sledge or a buck getting particularly close. It's Yaga to do it instead, so some of the wall towards that CCTV has been opened up, and then Yaga runs, but the shadow in that position actually gives you away. Rexen nearly capitalizes on a kill. Down goes Gunner, consistently one of the best players for Soniqs, but if you look on the right side of your screen, Rexen, Gunner, Geo, and Grixer all have 8 kills apiece. Those numbers are going to have to go up if Soniqs want to prevail. A Banshee at the bottom of the stairs, and that shield at the top gives Rexen incredible staying power on that garage catwalk, Nick. Down goes Spirits, shot away from Geo from above. There was a minor kill hole, but it leads to a major kill. Rexen's still the main focus point here. 1 minute left in the round. Soniqs with the upper hand, looking to put this one away, and Diaz walks backwards into a frost mat. Rexen surely hears that, but can he capitalize? They've got some spam pings. He knows that there's more than one down there as well. Secures the kill onto Diaz. Action just not stopping. Now it's Yaga with a nade out in hand. Tantalizingly close. He's not going to give much. Rexen pops up. Yaga engaging. And Rexen wins that gunfight. This is an anticlimactic end as it's now Kino with a shred of HP, Nick. Anything to say in the final 30 seconds before Soniqs puts this one away?
I mean, Soniqs won 7-3 against DC, looking to make it a 7-2 against XSET. They're looking better and better in XSET. Hopefully tomorrow they can show up in greater force. Kino with his second kill, but that might just be it. Yeah,
Rexen. Is that a 4K for Rexen? What an impressive showing. Soniqs absolutely demolish XSET. 7-2, it was never really close. They're putting on a clinic. And I think the most impressive aspect of this Soniqs roster is they're doing this with 2 new players. You lose your main support and your main IGL in Super. You lose a lot of that structure. Geo is a great player, but is he a plug-and-play kind of player that can immediately take over Super's role? I think a lot of people said no. But there doesn't seem to be an issue with direction on this Soniqs squad, and there doesn't seem to be an issue with the way that they play the game. With these 2 new additions to the squad, Soniqs look even better than they did before.
They do, and I'm impressed. I mean, Super said it, 3 weeks of practice, you don't expect this kind of performance, so I'm curious to see if it's going to be a honeymoon phase or if it's going to stay throughout the entirety of Stage 3 and then maybe go into the Major as well.
I mean, who knows? At this point, Soniqs 3-0 with the massive advantage that they have in round differential 2. It presents a very hard path for them to fall off. I'm not going to say they've secured a spot at the Major, but they are marching their way towards it. That's it for our very first matchup of the day. We have Space Station versus Parabellum up next. But before we get there, the desk. And before we get there, a break. We'll see you soon.
Welcome back once again to the Rainbow Six North American League Analyst Desk. Your host Doa here, along with Jesse, Jacob, and Super. And pretty super results. If I do, you already made that pun first, so it's okay. Super results for the Soniqs as they got a pretty dominating win, 7-2 over that. Were you satisfied, Mr. General Manager? You happy with that?
I mean, it was an okay performance. We lost 2 rounds, so I'd say they have a lot of work to do. But outside of that, they looked all right.
All right, it wasn't too bad. They did okay. It was only against XSET.
Yeah.
XSET, looking kind of overwhelmed there, weren't they?
Yeah, I think they only won. So 2 rounds, one of them was even scrappy on defense that didn't even feel like it was that coordinated. And then when they switched to attack, this is where I figure they probably, 40% on Clubhouse historically for this year actually isn't a terrible statistic still given the fact that Clubhouse has that defense lean. But for the love of God, we got down to those last couple. It just got embarrassing for XSET.
Yeah, well, we got some stats to take a look at while we continue to kind of break that one down. But yeah, it was a 5-1 half on attack for Soniqs to start things off, and then XSET did not really get much more going when they got to go on the attack as well. Got 1 round there, and that was that. Pretty dominating.
Yeah, columns 4 and 3 here are going to be the main ones you got to look at. Those opening engagements so heavily in favor of the Soniqs. One singular battle lost by Kansan on the entry. Otherwise, very, very strong. Rexon and Gunner both going flawless on attack, and then on defense kind of spread those out a little bit. Really nice start there for the entries of Soniqs.
Yeah, they just never got going. XSET never did. Even on church defenses where they were focused on turtling up, even still in those moments, it was probably still 2 kills done within the first minute, and then all of a sudden everyone on Soniqs is just compressing all at the same time. It really sucks when you can't get momentum, when you get that first kill and you think, nice, we're already off to a smooth start.
Yeah.
Even just that one little thing was something XSET never had on their entire defensive half, and that's where they started this game.
So Super, be honest. How many of the strats we saw today are stuff that you developed?
I pretty much initially make all the strats, or I made all the strats, and then they just tinker with them. I think going back to this game, though, it's kind of a story of what I said before the game. The Soniqs capitalize on 91% of their entries. They have 8 of 9 entry kills in this game. Wow. They won 7 rounds. They pretty much kept up with that statistic. And XSET, honestly, they just seemed overwhelmed.
Yeah. They sure did. We've got a couple replays to take a look at to kind of illustrate that point. The first one is going to be round number 3. Now, this one came down to a 2v2, and it did look like we were talking about this when we were watching the games, that XSET was looking for some of those early kills, trying to force kind of smaller 3v3, smaller engagements. They got the 2v2, but Jesse, it did not go their way.
Yeah, I didn't really like the decision making here. You can see we're going to send it down to a 2v2 now, and these 2 players on defense, XSET, right, they're kind of on around these top floors. They've got obviously Yogg down below. Gomez runs down to try to play below as well. I don't like this decision. Obviously, they know he's on main stairs, but if he'd been able to pressure a little bit more from there, maybe they could have stopped this plant from going down, maybe forced that plant to go into a different position, because it's completely free reign from Soniqs to plant wherever they want. And so, they're a smart team. They're going to plant where the floor is hard. You can't actually get through that with the impact grenades that both Yaga and Gomez have down below. So it's unfortunate that XSET have to play this post plant from down below. It really sets them up for a bad position, and I don't think they had to play it like that. Obviously, they could have maybe had Yaga coming up, the other side of the stairs. They could have come up red, maybe tried to pinch, stuck around on those main stairs for a little bit longer. It's unfortunate they had to play this from all the way down below, because it really didn't set them up into a great situation.
Yeah,
it's free real estate.
It's free real estate.
That's what I'm supposed to do. It even felt like Gio, from that jacuzzi breach position, even when XSET were defending bar, still felt like he was getting an unreal number of kills, like a very unhealthy amount just from that one spot. He could watch from the staircase back to Logi. It felt like that was the consistent trend over and over again. And I feel like when Gio lights up, that's great for the Soniqs, but it means everyone on XSET, when they try to make that late rotate back up, I felt like they went down a little bit too early before they needed to waste more time contesting on the side itself.
I felt like that round was a good example of Gio's experience helping them win a round. He recognized that Yaga was playing Valkyrie, so the reason he runs downstairs is because they probably have a Valkyrie cam in sight. So he doesn't plant in an area where they could impact or C4 him below. He plants on hard ground. It leaves XSET with no option where they have to run up the stairs, and those are obviously going to be a lot harder fights. I think that's Gio just having a really heads-up moment to realize, hey, there's info in sight. I need to plant somewhere safe. And XSET kind of underestimating, honestly, the Soniqs' thought process in these rounds.
If only he could get those aim lad stats up, though. So it's too bad. Gio suffering there. Come on, we got to give him another try at least. But speaking of another try, let's have another try at a replay. This one's going to be 2 different things, and this is going to be Gunner basically doing Gunner things, coming over to the Soniqs here for stage 3, making his presence felt on the entries, didn't he?
Yeah, we want to watch both of the Church and Arsenal rounds, and we're going to watch the opening pick from both of these rounds. And I want you to focus on how Gunner's able to get these picks around blue stairs 2 different ways. Number 1, he's by the window, catching Yaga as he's trying to fall off of that aggressive position. Then when he comes back around for round number 4, we've got the round number 1 top-down view of it here. What you'll be able to see is that he comes at a completely different approach. Now he's on Nook, now he's coming in through Lounge, and he's going to get a very similar result. He's still going to get this opening pick. Of course, Jaeger, no idea where he's at. Gomez sprints into his death. But it's the same execute. It's the same, result that we get here. So I love that Gunner's able to find a pick here around blue stairs, catch these roamers as they fall back 2 different ways, but still managing to get it done.
Yeah, XSET still wanted to play a little bit of that fallback position whenever they played on Church defenses, and if you're able to get the blue power position, it's fantastic, because I was wondering where Gunner got another kill like later in round 4. It was from that exact same spot. On blue, he already has Secret cleared, he has Gomez back behind Generator, but as soon as you get that opening frag, it still works out phenomenally for the attack. If you're able to at least claim one spot, and then you can move it from there.
I think that it's honestly just a good example of Gunner getting more comfortable in the Sonic system. The first game of the season, he didn't play that well. He played really well the next day against Dark Zero. And this game, he looked basically as he did on Parabellum. Heading into this game, Gunner was one of the worst entry players in the league statistically. Last stage, he was the number 1 overall entry player. Obviously, he was the team of the stage player. He was like 4-0 in entry in this game. So it's kind of like he's getting more comfortable in the system. And the Gunner that you saw last stage is now all of a sudden this stage, and that makes the Sonics extremely lethal.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at this now, what do you think? Do you think 9-0 Sonics? Do you think it's a possibility? That's a big statement.
The problem is when you get to the end of the stage, and let's say you've already guaranteed yourself a major spot, then you have to worry about hiding stuff. Now I do know we care about qualifying for the NAL finals because we are technically the defending NAL champions. So, and because the Sonics had a bad stage 1, we do need some points to move ourselves up. So it's certainly something that we're thinking about.
There you go. All right. Well, we'll see how the Sonics do as the stage goes on. They got another game tomorrow. We'll see for now what the future holds as we look ahead to our second map of the day. This one's going to be Space Station Gaming versus Parabellum. Should be a banger match. Do not go anywhere. The NAL day returns in just a bit.